That's right, the Shelter SportCast is live from BackChat Studios. The original, the OGs are back in the seats. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield coming at you. G'day, Skeet. How are you, mate?
Very well, Scully. You look a little flat today. I just sense there's a little bit of a period where you wish you could go back to some yesterday and think, well, have this morning again, because your Minnesota Vikings got absolutely poleaxed by the Dallas Cowboys this morning. What? As soon as I saw that, I thought, Scully's going to be in a shite mood.
I wonder where you're going with that, because I was thinking, I got sunburn on the weekend. I had too many beers on Saturday. Where were you taking me? But Minnesota, that's right. They got absolutely smashed by Dallas. What were you doing on the weekend?
I went to the races, Railway Stakes, big day.
How'd you go?
Yeah, I probably lost or broke even, as I was saying to my wife every time I come home. I'll tell you what, though, lucky I had a couple of friends pick me up and take me home about 7 o'clock because, I don't know what happened. I had a couple. I didn't eat. That probably didn't help, but I was
Cookarama, you said.
I was cooked at about 7:30. So I backed Alaskan God in the Railway Stakes. That I think it's still running. And congratulations to Tricks of the Trade, Troy Turner, Colin Webster, well played. And I was in bed about 8 o'clock, and my wife said, in a nutshell, you're a disgrace.
Yeah, very good. Well, she's spot on there. That was the Southern River Band. The boys will be playing the 2nd of December, not far away from their live gig down at Shelter Brewing Co, part of their national tour. DJ Genga will be naked. Don't worry about that. If he's not naked, I want a refund, Shelter. I will say that. Tickets are available still on the website. There's not many left. I did speak to the boys during the week, shelterbrewing.com.au. You can listen to us as a podcast, watch us on YouTube, shelterbrewing.com.au. Send us an email, FootyCast@shelterbrewing.com.au. We'd love to get your emails and talk a bit of shit with you. Let's get into it. Some big moments of not the round, of the week just gone, the weekend just gone. I want to start with the big one. The World Cup's underway. Qatar, 2 days out from the games. They've pulled the beers from the stadiums. What is going on over there,
and
seriously?
Budweiser, you think they're going to go to town on a legal sense. And imagine if you've gone over there, in all seriousness, as an English supporter or an Australian, whatever nationality, and you want to go to the football and have a bud or a beer of any description, given they sponsor, I'm sure it'll be Budweiser, but you can't, 2 days out, if not the royal family, certainly the ruling family over there has decided no. And it is an Islamic state, so obviously alcohol is, if not prohibited, it's difficult to obtain. And imagine, I think it's $20 a pint at the minimum.
I've been watching this on social. So the cheapest that I've seen, $17.50 Australian.
Okay. Yep.
Which, I mean, if you went to a decent place here in Australia, you'd probably get a craft, certainly not a Shelter, but some sort of $14, $15 range for a really, expensive beer. So $17.50 is not out. They're not paying $200 for a beer.
No, but it's like I went to Singapore briefly to explain that, and I went to an Irish bar, and it was about $17 a pint. My mate and I saw this place across the road. It was really busy. We went in there, got something, a pint for about $7 or $8. Only problem was after about 10 minutes, we realised it was actually a place of ill repute. It said, no, seriously. So there were ladies of the night in there, hence she had the cheap drinks.
Cheap beers.
Yeah, and you know what the place was called, in all seriousness? I didn't know where I was until about an hour later. The 4 floors of whores. That's what it was called in Singapore.
Dad's got his head down.
I'm having some beers. I think this is good. About 6 hours later, we left. It was a really good night.
That's like going to the casino. You sit on the tables, you get your free beers, and they take your money for free. It's great.
Yeah, well, anyway, but expensive, yeah. The beer stories had some legs, but I think you can go to a fan zone in the city of Doha and have a beer. But gee, it's 30 degrees. It's winter and it's still bloody hot there. So that's a tough ask for football fans at the World Cup.
Would it surprise you if I told you that I'm just having a quick look? I just found it before. How many tickets do you think have been sold to this World Cup? I need to give you a ballpark. I chucked it in.
I'll say guess 50% of the tickets.
No, in terms of how many have actually been.
Oh, how many?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you got me.
I believe it's 2.95 million tickets. And so the biggest was it Russia?
Russia, 2018.
2.6 sold there. They've sold 2.95 before the World Cup's even started. Does that surprise you? Most ever. Yeah,
well, considering the I guess the lifestyle in Qatar and what the parameters and all that, but that's massive.
If you were choosing one to go to, it wouldn't be Qatar.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, and Russia even probably line ball. But when it's in Europe, I think there's that real flavour. And so, but I'm a bit like you. If it was, it was in England one year, that'd just be heaven on a stick to go over there and be part of that atmosphere.
Absolutely. Now, we were both saying, look, there's no hiding the fact here. Look, we're not... we had Chris Coyne in the podcast Friday, who was excellent, I might add. Some very, very high-level knowledge. Neither of you possess that sort of knowledge. We don't possess that sort of knowledge.
No, we're very basic on that front. But I guess most people listening to this, unless you're an absolute aficionado and follow the round ball game religiously, you're probably going to be a bit like us, know enough to watch it with interest, and we are interested in it. But, I mean, the specifics, I suppose, are a bit beyond us.
So I was looking at the Australian squad.
Yep.
I mean, it's a bloody young team. There's blokes born I think there's a couple in the 2000s in there.
Yeah.
There's 98, 97. I was feeling bloody old looking at it. Martin Boyle, who's an attacker who's playing for Australia, he's ruled out from injury. Marco Tilio replaces him. It's a pretty big loss for Australia, who lacks a fair bit of attacking prowess anywhere.
Yeah, of course. And look, that was the concern. And even as Corny said, 26-man squad. We've got a few injury concerns heading into the tournament. As it is, we scrambled to get through the qualifiers to get to this point. In fact, I looked today. Australia, I believe, are paying $5 not to score in the World Cup, which is an indictment if that happens, that we can't get it. Well, look, France should take care of us on Wednesday night. I think that's or Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. That's probably, they're the world champions, but Tunisia, a winnable match, you'd think. They've only won twice at World Cup level. Denmark, going to be difficult.
We're going to have a look at a bit of a review, a bit of a preview of what's coming up. I'm going to get some tips out of you, Skeet, even though you're not the biggest expert, and you and I are going to go head-to-head with some tips later on in the episode. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. Now, there is a bit going on in other sports before we get into this World Cup breakdown. The men and the women of Australia win the Rugby League World Cup. There was another World Cup going on, and the bloody Aussies won it.
Yeah, well, we took on Samoa, which in itself was quite extraordinary because they had an amazing victory over England in the semi-final, and that was just a massive upset. Because when you think of rugby league, unlike rugby, where there's a better spread of talent across the world. I think you think of the nations, South Africa and Argentina. I think in rugby league, it's not as played extensively around the world. Australia, England, New Zealand. They're primarily your three nations. So Samoa to get to the final. Of course, they had a few Penrith Panthers in that lineup. So it was there was an Australian flavour, certainly an NRL flavour to it. Far too good, the Aussies in the final.
What about, my ignorance, but their version of the haka. So that's,
I
don't know what it's called, but that was incredible for the grand final. So the two lads, and one of them used to play for Melbourne Storm, who's very good, very, very, probably the best player in the NRL, were touching noses before the game. And then held it for 5 or 6 seconds, stopped, gave each other a hug.
Like, that's respect.
Yeah. Like I was pumped up watching it.
It's great, isn't it? And that's what I guess
Munster.
Yes, Cameron Munster was it? Yeah, so he's an absolute gun. But to have that as a prelude to a final like that, it just doesn't happen in say Aussie rules. Just there's not that cultural background that really resonates with footy fans.
I almost reckon you wouldn't trust like Aussie guys to two Aussie blokes to seriously like. There's just some carry on when you go out. When you travel, Aussies are always the worst behaved. I don't reckon you could trust the respect levels between Aussie teams. They're not punching on or having a fight or something.
Well, that's why. The closest we've seen to anything that I can't even look. The Adelaide Crows in the grand final with the Power Ranger stuff. That's about as good as we've seen, or the closest we've seen.
The Power Stance or the Power.
Was it Power Ranger? I don't know. Well, anyway, thank you, Dan, and happy birthday for yesterday. And still well, okay, smart. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dan. Very good.
Yeah, he's still chipping in when he doesn't need to.
Perth Scorchers, the girls, the WBBL was on. They just got knocked out. They were defending champs.
Yeah, beaten twice in 2 days. Renegades, Stars, and yesterday the Renegades under our good friend Duckworth Lewis and
Stern?
You've forgotten his name already.
Oh, you didn't know it?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Stain or Stern. But anyway, the bloke that you have referred to, that's just cruel them here. We went down by 6 wickets. End of the day, 2 for 46 off 8 overs. We had the Renegades 4 for 15. But as Shelinitsky said, who's off to do the national program, we just didn't play good enough cricket for long enough. When you think of Beth Mooney, first ball duck, Sophie Devine, 24 of 22, just didn't really get the job done. Even though Beth finished the season with 434 runs, the most in the league, What about Erica Kershaw? 34 from 18. She played the winning knock for the Renegades. So the Scorchers, defending champs. And it just shows you, Scully, in all seriousness, winning back-to-back at a good level, gee, it's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking just as you were speaking was, trying to back it up as the champs. You're just always the hunted. And so people don't... I think less probably people don't appreciate how hard it is. I think people, don't appreciate how good it is to back it up or to go 3 in a row. These teams that have turned into a dynasty to be able to just win and win and win. You think about, in the rugby league, Melbourne Storm, Richmond of late have done it in
Penrith
the AFL.
just did it.
Penrith's just done it. These sort of sides, it's so bloody hard.
And the competitiveness, the margin for error, we're talking minor percentages between, losing a player, just a 10-minute spell in a game, there's just so many areas. And that's why you're saying that you're hunted, or is the hunger level for the team that's won it, so just going back to your situation, from 18 to 19, it's just a touch off because of the belly's full, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, maybe. It's always that premiership hangover gets thrown around. I really don't think that wouldn't be the overriding factor. Yes, certainly there's an element, but you find other ways to motivate yourself. For us, particularly in 2019, we had guys like Brad Shepherd, Andrew Gaff, Nick Nananui, guys that have missed out the year before. So I think that was a big motivating factor. So you can get motivated in different ways, not just winning that first premiership, but it's a lot of things that flow into each other. Talking about the AFL, I woke up today and I just had this overwhelming feeling of dread. And it was honestly,
Pre-season?
I could not place it. And you know what day it is? It's the first day of pre-season. And I reckon after 14 years in the AFL system, it's just ingrained in my body to know when the start of pre-season is and the first day. Because they'll be doing a 2K time trial right now.
Isn't it just the first of 4 years today, though, at West Coast, for instance?
Yeah, but they'll have them back. Don't worry, they'll be...
So blokes like Shannon Hearn, he'll come back early, as they did this year.
It's optional. So basically, you get a message out because they're not allowed to communicate with players. So basically, in the off season, clubs can't request them to come in.
But can you get in touch with the
players
strength and conditioning and to initiate?
Yeah, but the strength and conditioning coach couldn't say to me, "Hey, did you do that 800 meters on the weekend?" Not allowed to.
Okay.
So that's mandated by the CBA.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so what happens with these ones is it's always funny in footy clubs because, the AFL, it's sort of the message goes around the playing group, hey, boys, we're back. It'll be from one of the young boys who's been told by someone else to put it into the group. Welcome down any time if you want to come down and train. It's always better to get down there. I'm waiting. I haven't seen the West today, but I always wait for the article. Shannon Hearn wants to make a jump on his opposition. It's just bloody easier. You get down there, you got players you can have a kick with. You're going to have to go do the work anyway.
At some stage.
So these blokes that you see back early, don't think that that's them trying to get a leg up on the comp or doing extra. If they weren't doing it there, they'd be at another oval. They'd be at another oval somewhere else. Like everyone's training the entire off season.
Yeah.
It's just when the young guys are back, it's like, well, may as well go in. The boys are there. Go in, do your training, piss off.
I heard a bit of a whisper that the likes of Campbell Chesser and maybe a few others went to Bali for a health retreat. Now that might be right, might be wrong. You might be able to tell me whether
I don't know names, but there was boys over there at a it's like an intensive, less of a health retreat and more of a workout camp.
Yep.
So I think we'll see more and more of this happen over the next few years. We've definitely seen individual players do it. They go to America.
They don't do that much anymore, the altitude stuff, do they?
No, not altitude, but I know our very own Hamish Brayshaw went over to the States in his second off-season. Just that is a leg up on the competition. That's taking... Everyone has a program to do in their own time, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually running days. Go away, do it, get it done. When you start traveling and you go and outsourcing people to train you, that's getting a leg up on some of the competition. So I think there was some West Coast guys over there. Jordan DeGoey's been over there. I've seen a lot of social media action from
Motel
him.
Mexicola.
Surprise.
I went there a few weeks ago. I did go there. My wife and my daughters, and they were dancing.
Were you having a nice dinner and they just turned the place into a big nightclub?
No, we went somewhere else, Scully, and then we thought, well, the girl, my daughter's 21, so of course she wanted to go there. So went there and saw Adam Reynolds with his shirt off, who's a NRL star. And
what were you doing in there?
I was just having a drink, seriously, just having a drink at the end of the night.
Were you on the tables?
I was on
table dancing.
Dance floor for about 5 minutes. And
Were you?
Got a bit crowded for me, Scully, so I just I got a bit claustrophobic with all these numpties up there, so I thought I'll just vacate and let. No, but anyway, Motel Mexico. We have diverted from what we're talking about, but you're right. Pre-season training.
Pre-season, yes.
And look, as I say, I heard Barley was on the agenda, and as you say, it's a beautiful day outside today. And I'm sure the excitement level amongst some of those young blokes would be, first to fourth year, you're jumping out of your skin, aren't you?
Yeah, correct. Saw another article in the West saying that Luke Shuey had done his calf, which is correct, but they were probably a fair bit off the running with timings, actually, which was quite humorous.
Well, hang on. So how far off are they?
Oh, did it a little while ago. So they were reporting as if it had just happened. It hasn't just happened.
And my spies tell me that he was just relaxing by the pool at Crown yesterday.
He was after serving at a Stitch in Time, another one, a friend of the family, Greg High.
Greg High, good man.
Yep. So Luke was a server there, but yeah, Luke did a small calf. It wasn't a big one. It was a small one. I think people have a perception of Luke Shuey that he's getting a lot of soft tissue injuries, and now you're going to say, well, he has, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I did a piece on radio yesterday, and before I went in, I wanted to discuss Luke Shuey and the captaincy. It's always bubbling given his injuries. I was surprised that he played 17 games this year.
That's what I was about to say.
Because in my head, I thought, he's missed a lot of footy, started the year a little late because of an injury. And I thought, if I was guessing, I would have said, 12 games. He played 17.
Yeah, he missed 3 in the middle and he missed a bit at the start. I think that's about it.
But isn't that the perception that he was hardly out there? So that, hands up. I was wrong on that front. But are we wrong in thinking that is he a certainty to captain next season? That's I guess what's bubbling around at the moment.
I don't think so. Probably some insight for what happens at West Coast. So yes, there's been guys, Darren Glass, Shannon Hearn. Shannon Hearn wins a premiership in 2018. He's probably not going to lose the premiership. He's probably not going to lose the captaincy in 2019. It's a pretty much laid down as there. But every year, the club does vote on the captaincy. So yes, it is up for grabs.
In Luke's case, because of he's played 17 games this year, does the incumbent have a say if he says, look, obviously if he wants to step down, he'll step down, or do you think he'll just put his hat in the ring and see what happens? No,
I think it's all a conversation. Yep. You're going to have conversations, not only with the players, that's the, sometimes it would seem like the players' vote wasn't as important, but that should be the most important vote, the players' vote, right? Yes, there's a lot of other things, marketing and the board and the relationship with the coach, and you're basically the public face other than the head coach. So you need to be able to do all that, plus play consistent footy, plus not probably be injured, the leadership element, all of that. But if your players want you to lead them, I think that's the most important element. So even though he'll probably get that, Luke Shuey, does every other box get ticked? I don't know. I don't know where it sort of sits. There's different things like, are players ready to come in and captain underneath him as well? I still think Luke Shuey will be a very good captain, and if he continues to do that, it'll be good for West Coast. And if he doesn't, well, there's probably a couple of boys in the realms as well.
Yeah, I think if he puts his hand up, should I say, to continue, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't. I mean, that if he does this year, 2023, I'm saying, that might be his last year, and then whether it's Tom Barras or an Oscar Allen or Liam Duggan, whoever it is, I think that'll be a decent transition. But either way, it's not going to be, the end of the world if he hands over the captaincy.
To finish off, the week before he did his calf, I had multiple reports that he was running as good as he's ever run, as fit as he's ever been. So little calves like this, they can come up if you overload or you don't quite get your training loads correct, but you can get over them pretty quickly, calves. So if he can get back to that, I think it's a positive for West Coast, and Luke Shuey will be fit and firing. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. That was the FootyCast, Shelter SportCast.
You say you can get over a calf quickly. I did a calf muscle, seriously. I played a game of social netball going back a couple of years ago, seriously.
It's still no
against
good.
the husbands against the wives. And I started on my missus, and I thought, I'm going to absolutely do the Dermot Brereton, just get the chest out, and maybe even the 1989, Yates just runs through 'em and maybe take one out. I've gone off the line, the whistle's blowing, within 3 steps, pop.
No.
Done the calf, it's the black around the back end of my calf. I was on crutches, I was out for 8 weeks. I was out for that long with the calf. So don't ever say calves is something to easily recover from. That's crap.
So bloody good to hear. Geez.
Social netball.
A sniper up in the stands.
Against your wife.
That is as good as it gets, Mark Reddings.
Pathetic, you individual Reddings.
World Cup preview, Shelter SportCast. We had our first game just gone. Qatar, Ecuador. 2-0 to Ecuador in the end. It was a full stadium to start with. After the second goal in about the 34th minute, people started leaving. There was a huge chant that went out saying, "We want beer. We want beer."
Are you serious?
I'm serious. We want beer. And half the stadium left before full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And also a bit of history, because I believe first time in 92 years that the host nation has lost their opening game at a World Cup.
What? No one in 92 years is...
I was
I think that's right.
Yeah, 92 years. I read that, and so Qatar. And you got to think, when you go back to whether it's Japan or the places that have hosted the World Cup, there's always been a bit of a romance factor about the host nation going well and performing above expectations, perhaps, and winning matches. With Qatar, I'm just not sure there's that feeling of love for given the human rights set up there as to whether they've got a lot of emotional support from countries visiting.
Maybe not everyone else, but they certainly did inside the stadium.
Of course.
Like their own fans were going absolute bananas. It was, if you get to see any highlights, there was some great noise. Enner Valencia, he scored both of the goals with a brace. Should have been a hat-trick. He scored in the 3rd minute of the game, but it was denied controversially. It's taken 3 minutes to get into the controversy due to technology. So soccer's got a VAR system, which the referees use from time to time to confirm or deny offsides or penalties or things like that.
Goals, yep.
Right, so 3 minutes in, that comes about. The VAR gets called and it gets denied due to an offside, which was a very controversial one at that. It was a player's foot that was offside. His body was well onside, and his right foot was offside. Wasn't affecting the play. It was sort of off the ball, and people were blowing up about it. But the biggest one, I think, that makes people blow up about things like this is when they can't see for themselves. So in this World Cup, there's a thing called the semi-automated offside technology, and that's right, Ski. That is SAOT.
Semi-automated offside technology. Sounds like a machine gun out of the United States.
So it's making its debut in this tournament, using a dozen cameras positioned around each of the newly completed stadium to track players' bodies in detail. But the first decision ignited fierce controversy because, one, it was a tough call, but the big one was it took 10 minutes for the 3D graphic to reveal the moment the player was offside. So it wasn't a quick call. It wasn't done and dusted. It was a bit of a shit show. And so I think when people can't see it for themselves, that's what creates the controversy.
My question is, it's making its debut at this tournament. Now, I'm not sure if you know the answer.
It does exist.
But where has it been used previously?
I don't know exactly.
That's why I asked you that question. But, that's...
Can you see that?
I can see it.
So that took 10 minutes to come up, and you can see his right foot is offside, and the ball is inbound here. So he's not even near the ball. And so people were blowing up about it. Gary Neville was going off his head. I heard Alan Shearer was spewing up on like all the old boys were cracking the sad. So anyway, that's first game in the books, 92-year record. That's not great, but it was still a good level of soccer played. I watched the highlights. It was decent. A couple of other issues coming up though, as we preview a bit of the games coming up. We'll get into France and Australia in a second. England have repeatedly, before this World Cup, spoken about a desire and a wish to wear a rainbow armband. And there's a few other teams, especially European teams, that want to do the same thing to show...
Is that just because they're playing Qatar?
Yes, and not against Qatar, but in Qatar,
yeah.
and to show respect for diversity.
Yep.
But that's basically the reason. And there's a lot of controversy about it. And still to the point where FIFA have said you're not to wear it. This is today. They're saying this. And England play tomorrow. And tonight, and they're talking about red and yellow cards. They're talking about banning them from games if they do wear them. So this is the day of. This is like the beer. they're still negotiating this today.
This is out of control. And even a step further on that, the FIFA bosses came out in a bizarre press conference.
What was going on?
Yeah, talking about the hypocrisy of people and almost defending the way Qatar runs its business. And look, again, it's their country. It is obviously your visitors, but from a human rights position, how this nation was given, or how the Middle East was given the right to hold this event is beyond me. But England, by the way, do take on Iran tonight. First time they've met each other in a World Cup. England should be winning this with Jack Grealish and Harry Kane. They are the two guns.
Yes.
So I suspect England will get away to a bit of a flyer here and record their first victory of the tournament.
$1.30 to win England.
Yes.
And it's a little bit similar to the France, Australia. Are you picking England?
I am, but France will be shorter than $1.29, I'm guessing. Haven't looked.
$1.25.
Oh, really? Okay.
So a little bit shorter.
That's giving the Socceroos, some credit, isn't it?
Yes. What are you laughing at, Daniel?
Okay, $1.25. I don't mind backing against Australia for $1 get a decent price.
Yeah, so I mean that's what's going on over in the World Cup. There's still a bit of controversy, but hopefully we get into the soccer because that's what we want to see.
We want to see a good month of football.
Correct. So France play Australia. They start against France the same as they did in 2018, and they only lost 2-1. Look, I know that the odds say this, and $5 to not score a goal in the whole tournament. Some of their players are coming out. So Conte, who just moved to Liverpool last season on a $65 million deal, if you don't mind, Skeet. Don't worry about that $1.25, $1.29. Old Conte doesn't care either. He was asked in a press conference yesterday, one, is he looking forward to playing Australia? Any dangerous players? Do you know any of them? He said, no, not at all. This is like a quote. No, not at all. I don't know any of them. He's a bloke that's about to... So I hear stuff like
He's
that.
honest. It's great.
Yeah, but I hear stuff like that and I just think, geez, it'd be fucking good
Oh,
to
of
beat 'em.
course.
Like how good with the arrogance.
Well, I did say this on Friday with Coiney.
You did.
The French, the arrogance, and there'd be nothing better. Even to get a point off them in a draw would be a super result.
I will just say here, so Kimpembe, Pogba, so Paul Pogba, Kante, and Karim Benzema now.
Glad you said that correctly. Go on.
Correct, because I didn't get any other ones right. Oh, Kante, right. Okay. I see what you've done there. They're all very, very good players, especially Pogba and Benzema. They're the best two players. None of them are playing. They're all injured. You don't care?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm hoping. I'm not hoping that the Australians get right. I'd love to. I'd be in your corner to see Australia. I'm a dinky die. I'd love to see them get a result and whether it's a draw, whether it's dare I say it, I'm not sure they can roll France given the talent they still have in their squad.
Chris Coyne Friday was not very hopeful.
No, well, that's why the market is as it is. So we've said this before. We said it on Friday. To get through to the next stage of the Cup, Australia has to beat, say, Tunisia. If they could get a draw against France, but I'm just not sure of the fitness of the Australian squad. They've got a couple of players and the youth. Look, the exuberance of youth can often be exciting and provide plenty of upside. But
who are you picking and what's the score?
France 3, Australia 0.
Exuberance of youth, blah, blah, blah.
Bang.
Bloodbath.
Oh, don't give us some scoey.
You got to do it, mate. Australia win 1-0. You got to do it. You got to do it. Sorry. France is losing a lot of their key players. I just think a bit of arrogance from the big fella. Look, maybe
1-0.
Maybe that's entitled. Yeah.
So you think they can keep a clean sheet against France?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I
will say, if I'm right, I'll be back bloody here screaming from the top of the rooftops.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm going to throw you some quick games. We're not going to go into them. We're not going to break them down because we're not going to be able to.
That's true.
Senegal, Netherlands.
Oh yeah, the Dutch will win that.
Oh yeah, score
3-0.
I'm going Dutch 2-0.
And you know why? Because I don't know anyone from Senegal who plays.
Robin van Persie used to play for the Netherlands.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, of course he did. He was a gun.
USA,
he's not playing anymore.
USA v Wales.
We talked about the Welsh. USA, I think, will be getting the result there.
Really? I'm going the Welsh. USA a favourite.
Yeah, well, hang on. I said USA. It was like I was tipping 100-1 outside here, Nuffy. Yeah, USA. Hang on. Tight game, USA 237, Wales 320, draw $3. So, yeah,
I'm going Wales for the win.
Okay.
Gareth Bale to stand up, get it done.
Okay. USA to get the chocolates from me.
Argentina versus Saudi Arabia.
No.
Argentina $1.14 skate.
Yeah, that's why Lionel Messi, his last World Cup campaign will dominate against the Saudis, and I think they'll get across the line pretty comfortably.
Before we won't go through them all. There's some big games coming up. Germany Japan will be a really good game. Germany are favourites there. Morocco Croatia, that'll be, I think, strongly supported here in Perth. Some Croatians locally here in Perth.
Lots of them. Yep.
Where do you think people are going to go and watch some of these games? You know, like some of them. So Morocco Croatia is 6 p.m. WA time. So
Perfect.
Be getting down and getting some shelters into you for that one. But some of these games at 12, 3 o'clock. Do you think people locally here in Western Australia will be getting up and watching them?
I think. Look, obviously, if it's your nation, I would have thought. I'm just guessing here that Crown will be open for that business. There'd be, I think there's a bar in Northbridge, the Patriot. I think there's some little bars in that area that will certainly cater for those late night spectators. But yeah, the 3 a.m. ones are going to test a lot of people, including.
I think it's got real couch vibes about it. I think it's got the vibes where you should be jumping on, grabbing some shelters, shelterbrewing.com.au, cracking a 6-pack at home on the couch, get up at 2:45, watch the game at 3. Back to bed at 4:30. You've drained 6 shelters. Missus doesn't even know you got up, and then you're fine. You're at work 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Could you pull that off?
I'd be honest. It's drinking. Look, I love the shelters, but having a drink at 3 is it's a task. But I will try and get up for the Australians because it's a once every 4 years, and we've been lucky to get to this one. We've been in the past 5. The French game. So I've got them winning 3-0, the French. You've got Australia causing a boil over 1-0. That's going to be fascinating. And by the way, Denmark and Tunisia meet in that first game. We're sort of hoping for a draw.
So this is in our group. It's in Australia's group.
We're hoping for a draw there, aren't we? Because we don't want Tunisia to win.
Yep.
We don't want Denmark to win. We're hoping for a draw, I'm guessing.
Nil all draw would be nice.
Be nice, yeah.
Goal difference doesn't go anywhere either.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, very good. Hopefully my Minnesota Vikings have scored, 6 touchdowns in the time we've been speaking here on the Shelter FootyCast. You can follow us on Instagram, Shelter FootyCast. Shelter SportsCast will be happening throughout the World Cup. We're going to go all the way through to the end of the World Cup, which is in December, midway through there. If you want to send us an email, you want to help us along and have a bit of a chat, that'd be great. FootyCast@shelterbrewing.com.au. Follow us on Instagram. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us as a podcast. Anything to finish with, Skate?
Been fun. Enjoyed your company, Scully, and to the 33-year-old, nice work on the audio.